The bye week is officially over for the Arizona Cardinals, and thus our bye week is over as well. Welcome to another edition of the All Cardinals podcast. My name is Donnie Druin, joined every week by my man and co-host Richie Bradshaw. Go to follow the both of us on Twitter at Donnie Druin, at Richie Brads36. Richie, I hope you've been watching every bit and piece of the World Cup as I have every single day for the past couple of weeks. I know you cheered on Team USA before we got knocked out.
Buddy, I love you to pieces. I can't get into traditional football the way that everybody else seems to. It's called soccer for a reason, but
It is.
I rooted on the Team USA as long as I could, but they unfortunately took a quick little exit from the cup. So at this point, I don't know what's going on.
2026 will be the year, I promise you. But we are here to talk about American football, and the Arizona Cardinals are off of their bye week. They'll be hosting the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football in Week 14. You got to imagine the people who put that game on primetime were definitely expecting both sides to be a little bit better down the stretch of the season. But it is what it is whenever it comes to that. When I was sitting here and I was thinking about topics to potentially talk on the show, we haven't recorded in like a week or two. We've been talking about Cliff Kingsbury quite a lot and whether or not he would have been kicked to the curb. The bye week would, at least in my opinion, would have been like the optimal time, just in terms of like the timeline for the rest of the year. If you wanted to fire Cliff Kingsbury, that was kind of like the time to do it. They didn't. Cliff Kingsbury, at least in my opinion, still looks to kind of be the guy for at least the rest of the year. Am I reading too much into it? Like, and is his hot seat still very, very hot?
Dude, I don't really know, because it's a blessing and a curse right now with Bidwell is the amount of patience that he has for his front office and for his coaching staff. Because you would think that if they were going to fire him mid-season, that it would have been during the bye week. They didn't do that. There's 5 more games left. The Cardinals are 4-8. They somehow still have a shot at the playoffs if they can win out, which we talked about this off mic before the podcast. That is a possibility, like less than 1%, but where there was a point in time where we said, like, I don't see another win on the schedule. They only have one like really good team left to play this year in the 49ers, and they just lost their quarterback. So if the Cardinals somehow ran the table, or even if they found a way to get to like 6 or 7 wins, that might be enough to hold on the Cliff. They would have to lose out at this point. They would have to finish the season 4-13 to really not even then guarantee that Cliff is gone. Like, I feel like the seat is hot, but I feel like his seat has been hot, and I don't know what it's going to take to get Cliff out of this, out of his coaching position right now. Like, it's such a weird situation. Because it feels like for 31 other teams, or, a good majority of other teams, especially the Chargers, who are just happy to fire coaches the moment they don't make the playoffs. Like, I don't know what to do with the Cardinals situation. It feels like he should be gone, but at the same time, it feels like he won't be gone.
It feels like if this was another organization, Cliff was probably already out the door. Considering the talent he has around him, and considering they made the playoffs last year, considering the expectations, especially after his quarterback got paid and he got paid along with the general manager as well. I don't know, man. You look at teams like the Colts who decided to move on. You look at teams like the Panthers who decided to move on. The Titans just fired their general manager today. Yeah. When he got also signed to an extension in the offseason, similar to Steve Keim. So you see organizations around the league not okay with being mediocre. And then you look at the Arizona Cardinals, and I feel like that's everybody's biggest fear, is that Michael Bidwell only cares about the money, only cares about cashing checks, and he is so okay with whatever product is going to be on the field. That's kind of meh. It's kind of whatever for him. And we also have to remember, we don't exactly know what's in Cliff's contract. Like, none of the details were revealed. We don't know if there's a bunch of money guaranteed. We don't know if it is an incentive-laced deal. And, kind of to further push that point, if you're in the camp of wanting Cliff Kingsbury gone, which I feel like that's a majority of the fan base right now, you haven't really heard anything like slip out of like through the grapevine, right? Like, which isn't exactly great news if a team plans on firing a head coach 5-6 weeks down the road from now when they probably already should have canned him. So a lot of like lack of smoke to where you want fire, and that's just not a good situation overall for the team. Like they should fire him.
Yes.
Right. But like, will they? That's an entirely different conversation. But I do want to talk about a couple potential head coaching candidates with you, because I mean, assuming Bidwell understands that you just paid Kyler Murray, the window is now free to try to make a push for at least being a perennial playoff team within the next couple of years. I'm going to need new leadership. I'm going to give you 3 guys. Just tell me your actions. Number 1 is probably the hottest name on the head coaching market right now. It'll be Shane Steichen, the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator. Everybody seems to love what he's been doing with Jalen Hurts. The Eagles have obviously been playing some of the best football in the NFL right now. Steichen is going to have no shortage of head coaching interviews during the offseason or even after the first round of the NFL playoffs. Do you have any thoughts, opinions on that?
I think that'd be a good hire. So Steichen is a young guy. He's 37 years old, and he's been, working with some very good young quarterbacks recently. Last year, he got to work with Justin Herbert, who put together almost 5,000 passing yards, or maybe he did hit 5,000. And now this year, you've got him turning Jalen Hurts into one of the top 3 MVP heavyweight favorites. And for him to come to Arizona and work with all the pieces that they have on offense, with Kyler Murray, with DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, James Conner, all of that, it's a very enticing thought to have him take you that next step and potentially over the top to finally competing where you should be competing with an offense like that. So yeah, I would definitely place him towards the very tippy top of my list.
Yeah, and I feel like the young offensive minds are definitely the way to go. Should they want to reverse course, and this honestly might not be a bad idea now that I'm kind of like talking myself into it, getting a defensive minded head coach and then just hiring an offensive coordinator to only worry about running the offense. Something a lot of people think that Cliff carries a little bit too much on his shoulders, trying to run an offense on top of balancing being the head coach of an entire football team. There's a lot of responsibility there. So I wouldn't hate the Cardinals getting just a regular head coach and then just a separate offensive coordinator. Vance Joseph, who was it? Like somebody from NFL.com wrote an article a couple weeks ago on how Joseph is likely to at least hear his name brought up for potential head coaching interviews. Obviously, he's not going to be a super hot candidate. Joseph interviewed with the Miami Dolphins last year before they hired Mike McDaniels. And then obviously he has prior head coaching experience with the Denver Broncos as well. Depending on who you brought in an OC, I wouldn't hate it.
It just doesn't move the needle for me.
Sure.
Vance Joseph has had his opportunities to head coach of the Denver Broncos and didn't do anything with it. Comes to Arizona, and he's been here for a minute. He's been the defense coordinator since 2019. So it's 4 seasons worth of it's an okay defense, not a great defense kind of thing. Yep. And the one thing that would get me excited is promoting from within and knowing that you have a player's coach. Like, these guys respect Vance. They love Vance. They play hard for Vance. That's definitely something that you would be able to kind of advertise as a selling point for promoting Vance Joseph, the head coach. But this is just not a move that would do nearly enough for me to reinvest myself into the Cardinals if I were a fan.
No, definitely understand. Before we move on to my third and final candidate, this has been a name brought up many a times, Sean Payton. It's funny because I spoke with somebody who said that Sean Payton was interested in the Cardinals job, but that was probably a month ago. And all it was kind of left at was interested, right? If you're keeping tabs on the situation, by now it's kind of just like Chargers and like every other team kind of has their like horse blinders on. Like Sean Payton to Los Angeles kind of looks like it's going to happen if you're assuming the Chargers missed the playoffs this year and then they fire Brandon Staley. So there's a lot of buzz for Sean Payton to the Chargers. So I don't know if Bidwell is too afraid to fire Cliff just because he doesn't want to take on X amount of money he has to pay. You also have to remember that the Saints still technically have Payton under contract. They're probably going to have to give up some draft capital or whatever in exchange for Sean Payton, on top of buying out Sean Payton as well of his current deal, I believe. I could definitely be wrong on that. A lot of money being there, and I don't think Mr. Bidwell necessarily wants to spend all of that money. So that's the latest on your little Sean Payton update. Jim Harbaugh, though. Jim Harbaugh, rumored to be open to returning to the NFL. Should he get tired of beating Ohio State every year now? Seems like a yearly occurrence, 2 years in a row. Sorry, not sorry. Harbaugh's a winner, man. He's had success everywhere. He's gone, led the San Francisco 49ers to 3 straight NFC Championship games, 1 trip to the Super Bowl, and we all know how that Super Bowl ended up in favor of the Baltimore Ravens.
Only lost by
I would really like the hire. I would really like it. I can't lie.
I would be like just an absolute slam dunk hire. So what's interesting to me is the conversation about like, well, he could be interested in returning if like the price is right and this, that, and the other kind of thing. But I just don't know why you would want to leave a situation that you have in Michigan. This is a Michigan alum. This is his dream job. And he's got roots so deeply invested in that program that it would take like 4 or 5 consecutive losing seasons to probably get him out of there. Like it would take a lot. And right now he's finally got them competing for national championships.
Finally,
yes.
like he's finally seeing his like footprint on the recruiting trail and
Yes.
his like impact on that program finally come to fruition. And dude, like I remember, it feels like 2 years ago where they were like, Harbaugh needs to go. Like Harbaugh, like we brought him here to beat Ohio State. He's not beating Ohio State. He needs to go. And now look at him. Now look at him in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, they had a losing season in 2020 when they only played 6 games for the COVID stuff. And now he's made the playoffs back-to-back years. He's Big Ten champion back-to-back years. Like he is finally seen all of the time and energy that he has invested in that program pay off. And I just, if I'm him, I'm not interested in leaving unless it is just some guaranteed slam dunk job where I know I'm going to win. And I'm sorry, but the Cardinals is not that team. The Cardinals are not
I agree. But I also want to say, I think a lot of people are overlooking the Cardinals as a potential head coaching destination because you have a franchise quarterback who you don't have to worry about paying because you already got all of that out of the way, right? You have a what looks like potential top 10 pick you're going to be able to work with. You have very solidable talent at almost every single position group. Known to man. The talent is there if you're a head coach. It's all about just maximizing it, getting the best out of those guys. You have like, I think 31 guys scheduled to become free agents. So, I mean, there's a lot of wiggle room for you to really kind of put your fingers and leave your mark on this like roster, even in year one. So I think we might be overlooking Arizona as like a really good potential head coaching destination. Obviously, compared to the Chargers, might be a little bit different in terms of what they have to offer. But I mean, like you would almost have to be not crazy, but like if you pass up the Cardinals to go coach the Colts, for example,
no, I'd be dumb.
Yeah.
No, it's not that I'm like trying to slander the Cardinals job or anything, but I'll tell you this, Donnie, because I've talked to some of our buddies about this. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, there is not a single job I would leave Michigan for, including Alabama. I would not leave Michigan for anything because I am contending for national championships. I'm getting paid really good money. I've got my roots invested here because I've been coaching this program for 8 seasons now. They're just, it would take some kind of massive
Mike Tomlin
world-shattering contract. Yeah, exactly. To keep me, or not to keep me, to get me out of Michigan. And especially like to get back to the NFL would be kind of not intimidating, but it's just it's a different game. And when we last left off with Harbaugh, it wasn't the best experience, but we can all be honest and say that he was chased out of there by Balky. Like it wasn't a Jim Harbaugh issue at San Francisco, but it's a very interesting situation. If you got him, obviously you'd be very, very excited.
No, for sure. And I think at the end of the day, man, he's a proven winner at the NFL level. I mean, he obviously knows what it takes to coach within the NFC West. He's probably at least a little bit familiar with Arizona. I mean, shit, he'll be here in Glendale for the Fiesta Bowl here in a couple of weeks anyway. So, why not try to do some
Great
negotiation?
opportunity to throw
right?
something at them. Yeah, they're going to be at the Cardinal Stadium. So
Exactly. So, lot of wiggle room, a lot of leeway for stuff to happen with the Arizona Cardinals. They do have 5 games left remaining in the regular season. And we were talking about this before we went live. I believe only one team during the rest of that stretch is over a 500 record, which is the San Francisco 49ers, who did lose Jimmy Garoppolo for the rest of the year. At least the regular season, they're saying he might be back in time for a NFC divisional playoff matchup. Nobody really knows, but 49ers hopes of at least getting a bye week did take a big hit. Richie, I ran playoff simulations last week. The Arizona Cardinals, had they won out, were at about a 30% rate, not including any other outcomes, just their own slate winning out. I ran it again today. They dropped from 30 to 20%. They lost 10% almost overnight with not even playing a game. So, the results did not really go their way for their playoff hopes. But, I mean, are we really looking at postseason hopes, or are we kind of just like burying the shovel where we need to?
No, here's what you need to do. You need to fight your hardest for the final 5 games of the year, not worry about playoffs, worry about advertising yourself to come back to this team.
Mm-hmm.
So Cliff Kingsbury needs to advertise that he deserves another year. The guys who are free agents or could be potential cap casualties need to advertise that they are worth coming back for next year. That should be the entire goal of the Cardinals for the final 5 games of the year. Win, lose, or tie, you need to just find a way to make it so that the Cardinals are interested in holding on to you for the 2023 season. Like that is your only job.
Not even the Cardinals. People need to remember the reason why you will never see tanking in the NFL is because these guys have jobs to do.
Right.
If it's not going to be with the Arizona Cardinals, there are 31 other teams who will look at your tape. So, like, if you're almost exactly like you said, if you're a free agent, if you're one of the 30 plus free agents that the Cardinals have, at very, very minimum, you need to be putting on good reps for other teams around the league to potentially sign you heading to the offseason. I really like your point about Cliff Kingsbury because now it looks like you're going to have a couple pieces coming back. You have Marquise and DeAndre finally hooked together. Kyler Murray seems to be, recovered from his hamstring injury. James Conner had 120 rushing yards against the Chargers before the bye week. Kingsbury said today that Hudson and Hernandez probably won't play on Monday Night Football, but the following week, he's hoping to get some of them back. So the health is starting to come back for this Arizona Cardinals offense. And after that, there's really going to be no excuses, especially whenever you look at the competition you have left remaining.
100%. They've got to make the most out of these games. Like I said, win, lose, or tie, you just need to do whatever you can to retain your job for 2023, or at a minimum for some of the players more than like Cliff Kingsbury, you need to make it so if the Cardinals aren't interested in holding you around, that you have generated enough interest from other teams to bring you in.
Nope. 100% agree. I was sitting here and I was thinking, what exactly should we expect from the Cardinals the rest of the way? And to be honest, man, I don't really know because I have yet to see them play a 4-quarter game. Against the Chargers, we watched them play a 3.5-quarter game, which is almost pretty solid, right?
Almost.
They've yet to put it together, right? And I'm not sure if that's going to come. It should come, given all of the guys we just talked about potentially coming back. I just want to see this team play, man. Like I want to see these guys play like they know they can. And I just feel like if they do that, the rest of the chips will kind of, be stacked and they'll probably fall in their favor. We already kind of touched on the schedule a little bit, but like when you look at the teams they're going to be playing, they have teams like the Patriots who have been kind of underwhelming this year. You have a team like the Broncos, a team like the Falcons. And then you do have the Buccaneers who, they just pull off a Monday Night Football, come back. And then obviously you have the 49ers at the end of the year without Jimmy Garoppolo. So I don't know, man, like you really just need to make sure you play your best football, because I feel like when the Cardinals do play their best football and everything's kind of clicking on all cylinders, they're almost too hard to stop. And that was the hope heading to this year, but they just never hit it.
Right. No, 100%. Real quick, just kind of interesting for you right now.
Mhm.
Without any alterations being made to the schedule for the remainder of the year, the Cardinals have 2 home games left and they're both prime time. So
Yep.
this is a very, very big opportunity for them to really advertise themselves to other people. But it, dude, like we said, it's you have one team that's above 500, 2 teams that are at 500, and then you have Denver and Atlanta. These are all 5 of these are winnable games with the roster. It's just a matter of whether or not the coaching is going to be able to place them in a position to where they're going to actually pull it out, kind of thing. So
Yep.
we'll see. I'm not ready to abandon all hope, but at the same time, this season feels just about mailed in.
No, it really does. But we also have to remember too, and we already kind of touched on this point. There's jobs to be had and there's jobs to be lost. So I don't think
Right.
you're going to see lack of effort from anybody, especially on a defensive side of the ball, led by guys like Buda Baker and JJ Watt. But I mean, I guess the exciting thing on the other side of the coin is that a lot of Cardinals fans can focus on draft season and draft content now. We will have plenty of that out at allcardinals.com. Richie Bradshaw actually just dropped 2023 NFL mock draft 1.0 today. Go ahead, go to allcardinals.com or si.com/NFL/Cardinals to find out who he pegged the Cardinals at number 7 or 8.
8.
Number 8. The draft position just changes so much, but the Cardinals are kind of slated to have a top 10 pick, so we will have every possible draft content and more there. But before we go, it is beginning to be draft season, but Richie, it is also entering the holiday season. Richie, we joined All Cardinals a couple months ago, right at the beginning of the season, and we have received phenomenal support from the very, very moment we began this journey. The podcast has been phenomenal. The YouTube page has been phenomenal, and we're going to do great, great things, as one former leader of the country once said. But holidays are coming around no matter what you celebrate. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it might be, we want to give back to you. So I'm teasing this a little bit right now. A video will be on the page tomorrow, give a little bit more details, but we at All Cardinals will be giving away this mini helmet that never actually got claimed by the last winner. We'll be giving away 2 $25 NFL shop gift cards, which will be digital. I will buy those and forward them to the respective winners. And then the big prize, a autographed Buda Baker jersey that we will be giving away. Like I said, stay tuned tomorrow, Wednesday, December 7th. There will be a video on the page, and we'll be sharing this all over social media. More rules and stuff will be followed from there. But 4 gifts, 4 opportunities for you to win something just for checking us out. All you got to do is be subscribed and obviously listen to the show on occasion. That is all that we ask.
Sounds like a pretty good deal to me, my friend.
Sounds like a
definitely
phenomenal
get that Buda Baker jersey.
Yeah, no, I was trying to find number 3 signed Buda Baker jerseys, but he hasn't done any signings since he changed his number, so it's all just 32. Which, I mean, cool. It'd be great to have like a 32 Buda Baker jersey, just because like it's not his number anymore and it might be considered rare.
Now
Whatever
it
it might be.
36. You gotta get that.
I thought about
36 Buda
snagging
Baker
a
jersey.
Isaiah Simmons 48 signed jersey, but
Clean.
we'll see. We'll see, man. I couldn't find Marquise Brown stuff anywhere. Literally anywhere. It's all Oklahoma or Baltimore Ravens stuff.
Hey, I like that guy.
But like I said, more details and information will follow. For Richie Bradshaw, I am Donnie Druin. Thank you so much for checking out the All Cardinals podcast. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe on this video. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow both of us on Twitter at Donnie Druin, at Richie Brads36. We will see you guys a little bit later in the week to preview the upcoming matchup with the New England Patriots. But until then, stay golden, Pony Boy.